Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys how to make a hand-built slab cup. So you will have a cup with a handle. This one is a tumbler without a handle. You have the option of making a tumbler with a handle, or a mug. For you guys online, I will put the templates online that you can use, or you can take apart a paper Starbucks cup for using this too. So this cup right here was made with this template. So if you're at home and you have a paper cup that you can take apart from Starbucks or something, that would be great, because this cup turns into that template. That's what you guys have, okay? If you want to do a mug, it's basically a long rectangle. So for you guys at home, you can cut out a rectangle and then put it together to see how tall you want it, okay? So the kiddos in the class have this handout, and you guys at home have it digitally. So if you forget how to make the cup or mug, you can watch this video again, or you can look at your handout to help you too. Okay, so the first thing you need to do at home is to roll out or toss a slab. So you'll need a pretty big piece of clay. So if you need to come into school to get more clay, you can come in and get more clay. So I use the slab roller at school, but you're going to have to use either a rolling pin, or you take a Pam can that you put paper towel on. Or remember, you guys at home, you can toss your clay, right? You can throw it a little bit to toss it. Okay, so at school, we have texture on the clay from the slab mat. If you have texture on your clay at home, you can do the same thing. So you guys here in class are doing this with me right now. Okay? So you're going to take the serrated rib and you're going to use the flat side to smooth it. So at home you might already have smooth clay, so you might not have to do this. Okay. So you're going to smooth this out the best you can. If you used a wet sponge, you're actually adding texture to the piece because it's porous. So you want to use this, or you can use your fingers to smooth out that clay too. Alright, the next step is to take your template and to trace and cut out this with your needle tool. So this is the slab cup design. So you're going to cut out your clay with your needle tool. Now you should have a chunk left. So if you have a big enough chunk for the base, do you think you can save that? Otherwise, if you don't, you want to ball up your clay and put it right away in your clay scraps. So ball that clay up and put it in your scraps. Yesterday I showed a video, and it's on the homepage of Schoology, of how to recycle your clay. So once you have your clay rolled out, there's your template. Okay? Okay, so once you've got your cup template cut out, we need to smooth down the edges and the top, because if we overlapped this, it would be way too thick. Okay? So at home, you probably don't have a pony roller like this, so I'll show you the alternative in a second. I don't know why they call them pony rollers, but that's what they're called. So for at school, you guys can take your pony roller and you're going to roll down the sides and the top, so it's thinner. So you guys can do that here at school. If you're at home and you don't have a pony roller, you have a paintbrush. So use the paintbrush to roll down your sides. It might stick a little bit, but it's probably pretty good because it has some paint on the handle. So you just want to roll down the sides and the top to thin it out. You don't have to do the base, because the base is where the foot's going to go. Can you hear the squeaking? Those are the pony rollers that are old. Okay. So once you have rolled down those, you might have these little things I call ears. So if you have those, you can take your stick or your needle tool and kind of trim off the little pieces at the top. Not a big deal though. This extra clay could go in your slip cup. If you're running out of slip at home, just break up some clay chunks and add some water, and overnight it'll turn back to slip. Okay, so I know again at home you probably, some of you don't have rolling pins. If you don't have a rolling pin, try to find something else that's cylindrical, like this. We're not going to wrap it around it, so it doesn't need paper towel on it or anything. But some kind of cylinder, like a can of Pam spray, or if you have a rolling pin, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to show the next step. So the next step, guys, is to put your rolling pin in the middle, like this. Okay? And what you're going to do is you are not going to wrap your rolling pin, your clay around the rolling pin. Instead, you're going to take and use it as a firm surface, and you're going to slip and score the side that's on top, like this. And then you're going to slip and score this part here. If you don't slip and score, when you fire it, it'll come apart. Then you're going to put it here. It will look misshapen. We're not going for the cup shape right now. We're just using it as a firm surface to press it on. Then you use your scoring tool. You don't need slip. And you're going to score it. Then you use the flat part of the scoring tool to smooth some of that away. The other tool that really works good is to go back again and use the pony roller. That works really good for smoothing. I have a little piece of dry clay in there. Or to go back again and use the end of your paintbrush that I gave you guys. So we're not worrying about the shape of the clay yet. What we're doing here is we're just making sure it's nice and slip and scored together at the seam. Once you guys have smoothed out the seam, I need to spend a little more time on mine, inside and out. You just want to take your cup and tap it so it's flatter. And then we're going to trim the rim a little bit. So the best way to trim the rim is with your stick or your needle tool. So you just hold it, this shape, I'm not going to tell you what that looks like this, and then you can hold your cup and you just hold it at the rim, and you can trim off any excess clay you have there at your rim. If you have any, you might not. And this can go in your slip cup. The rim is important to fix because we don't want to leave sharp edges or thick and thin spots. We'll come back to that. So at your table, if you're at school, you have a cup, and we'll use this cup in class for water, so just keep it in your box at school. If you're at home and you have a paper cup, you can use this too, or you can pick one up from Starbucks or something. So we're not wrapping the clay around the cup, we're going to use it to help us form it. So you put it inside, and then you just kind of give it a couple turns and squeezes. So we're not wrapping it around the cup to make it turn into that. We're using it just as a way to kind of give it more of a shape. And then you can pull it out. And then the rim you can pinch a little bit. You don't want a square rim like this one. Look at this rim. Square, see? Hop, up, those angles. That will cut your mouth or hurt you, okay? Instead, you want a nice round rim like this student did. And the way you make a round rim is you just pinch and kind of smooth it out. Now when it's leather hard, we'll come back here and work on that. But you definitely don't want to have a square rim. Even if you're at home and you're never going to fire this, it's important that you learn these techniques. So go ahead and work on rounding it out with your cup and smoothing your rim. Alright, once you've formed the top, you need to work on the bottom of the cup. So you're going to flip that over. Now, I'm not really worried about this part because I can slip and score that, but if you did want to trim some of that away, you can take your stick or needle tool and hold it vertically up and down and trim some away, but no big deal. Okay, if you have a cookie cutter that fits the base or is pretty close to it, a little bit bigger, a little smaller, that works. But you know what works really well for this template is your sponge. It's like the perfect size. So you'll take your slab of clay, or you might need to roll another one. Make sure you roll it the same thickness. And you can either use a cookie cutter or a sponge or something to trace for the circle. If you do trace something, it's a really good idea to trace it lightly first instead of trying to cut it out all at once. And then to go ahead and use your stick or needle tool to cut it out. At home, never use a knife. If you don't have a stick, you can get them. They're skewers at the grocery store. So go ahead and cut it out. Mine's a little bit leather hard. What I like to do is go to the edge here. So my slab is pretty leather hard. So it's a little flexible, but a little bit leather hard. So I'm going to put that in my clay bag so that I can spray it down with water and reuse it later. Okay, once you have that cut out, you're going to apply your slip. So when you're using your slip, you need to apply the slip obviously to the foot, the bottom, the base of the pot, and your scoring, slip and score, and the foot. Make sure you're slipping and scoring so it doesn't crack or come apart in the kiln. You put it on the base, and then the easiest way to do this is to use the scoring tool again and score that on. And once you've scored it all the way around, use the flat end of your scoring tool and smooth it. Okay, so once you've worked on the foot, we'll come back to this when it's leather hard. You got to smooth out the inside. Look at that. Okay? So if you don't smooth out the inside, you can get cracks. So the best way to do it is to use the end of a paintbrush like this, or for you guys at school, I have these rubber tip tools. Those work good too. And you can put a little slip on it, or you can just take it and go in there, because you probably can't reach your fingers in there, and smooth that seam out inside the best you can. So if you wanted to put a little slip on it, you could, and then apply some slip in there. And really just take your time smoothing that out the best you can. Now we are going to add a handle to this, but it has to get to the leather hard stage. So what I would do is just spend a little bit more time. You might need to tap it so it's flat again. You might want to put your cup back in, your paper cup, and turn it. And then just make sure that you're going around and smoothing out with either your thumb or the flat end of your scoring tool the best you can. Don't use a wet sponge because it's porous. We don't want porous. So you just take your time and smooth things out. Then we're going to let it get leather hard. So if you're at home, what you'd want to do is either put it in an open bag, not real open, but a little bit open, and leave it overnight, or put it by the fan for a little bit. Just keep an eye on it so it doesn't get too dry. At school, you can just leave it out, or you can put it by the fan and turn it a few times, because you can't add the handle to it till it's leather hard. Please don't try to add a handle until you see the correct way to put one on, because if you just put a coil of clay on it, it often doesn't work well. And then even though it's not done, it's always smart to put your name and class shape on the bottom. So for 7th hour, it's a plus sign. And then to put it in your plastic bag. And like I said, if you are going to add the handle tomorrow, then you'd leave the bag open a little bit at home, let it get leather hard, and then come back to it. So there is the basic start of how to make a tumbler. And then we'll add the handle later.